Good morning, everyone. Before we start our meeting, let me introduce our group. For myself, Izzati as a chairperson, Miss Liana as secretary, then Miss Hannani and Miss Hazira as a committee's member. Good morning, everyone, and I would like to thank all of you for making yourself available for this meeting. Before we start, I am sorry to inform you that Mr. Shahrul Nizam and Ms. Adawiyah are unable to join us due to unavoidable matters. Alright, this is our second meeting. Referring to our meeting agenda, today we will discuss various ways how to give support to youth and children during pandemic COVID-19 and the form that can be given to youth and children during the food and economic downturn. Before we proceed, I would like to everyone to go over the minutes of our previous meeting. Ms. Lena, will you take over, please?
Yes, here are the minutes of our last meeting on Friday, 14 January 2022. All 6 members attend the meeting and no absence were recorded. The first agenda was to discuss the problems faced by young and children related to the pandemic COVID-19, the flood, and the economic downturn. The second agenda was to discuss the various ways how to give support to youths and children during pandemic COVID-19 and the forms that can be given to youths and children during the flood and economic downturn. Based on the discussions made, we have selected Ms. Hazira to conduct daily necessities, cash and counseling treatment had been got from public contribution.
Thank you, Ms. Lena. So, does anyone here have any amendment to make?
Excuse me, Ms. Chairperson. I noticed a slight error on the date stated. On 14 January 2022, it should be Friday, not Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Hazira. Are there any other amendments?
Yes, I would like to make amendments regarding the age range of youths and children. In the minutes, it was stated that the total was 1 until 30 years old, but supposedly it should be 1 until 29 years old.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hannani. I will take the note of this matter and make the correction later. If there any no more amendment, will someone propose that the minute of the previous meeting be accepted?
I propose that the minute be accepted.
Thank you. So someone please second the proposal.
I second the proposal.
Alright, thank you. I hereby confirm the minutes of the last meeting with a few amendments. Before we proceed with the agendas, is there any arising matter that any of you would like to ask?
Mr. Chairperson, I have a question. In our previous meeting, Ms. Hazira was tasked to conduct daily necessities, cash and counseling treatment. So I would like to know how we get the many daily necessities and cash.
Ms. Hazira, could you please respond to Ms. Hannani's questions, please?
Yes, Chairperson. We have received it from public contribution.
Thank you, Ms. Hazira, for the answer. Now let us move on our next agenda. I will read the report of the problem faced by youth and children related to the pandemic COVID-19, the flu and the economic downturn that was made at our meeting last week. We have managed to provide some ways of counseling treatment. The way are first follow. First, understanding emotional needs of most vulnerable youth and children. Number 2, helping children and youth deal with stressful events. Third, recognizing signs of physiological distress needing specialist help. So here we will discuss how to give support to youth and children during pandemic COVID-19. For the first issue, let's start with Ms. Liana. Ms. Liana, could you share your opinion on how to give support to youth and children during pandemic COVID-19?
As we all know, during a pandemic in COVID-19, it is critical to recognize the emotional requirements of the most vulnerable youths and children. It's because children and adolescents can show psychological distress, anxiety, melancholy in a variety of ways. Each kid and adolescent acts in a unique way. Some people may be conditioningly quiet while others may experience habit range and hyperactivity. Parents and adults must be tolerant and comprehend their youth and children's feelings. All feelings are valid, and as parents and adults, we must be able to recognize them and empathize with them. Playing and painting are two examples of creative interactive activities that might help with this process. Assist youngsters in finding positive methods to express troubling emotions, including anger, fear, and sadness. Maintain as much consistency as possible in your routines and timetables. When children or youth see the victim of domestic abuse, they experience trauma and anguish, which can lead to disruptive behavior. Explain to them that having the sickness should not be stigmatized or marked as such. Avoid viewing, reading, listening to, or discussing too much news regarding to COVID-19 and encourage youths and children to focus on other things. Children and youths may experience increased worry and require specialist support if someone in the family becomes ill and is transported to the hospital or if a death occurs. Children and youths who are the most vulnerable experience greater difficulties and may require more care and attention as a result. Some of these children and youths don't have strong family support or emotional connections. If not addressed promptly, the worry and stress induced by COVID-19 may worsen their sense of insecurity and lead to even more significant mental health disorders.
That is a good idea. What do others think?
Yes, I completely agree with Miss Liana. We need to cheer them up during this pandemic through activities that can help to express their feelings and at the same time give them awareness about this virus. Stay-at-home measures are helping to stop the spread of the virus, protect our health. But while we are staying apart from each other physically, it's even more important to connect socially to protect Yacht's emotional well-being. Keep up relationships and ensure your contacts while maintaining physical distance outside the home. For example, talk with family and friends via video chat and phone. Make Yachts and children stay connected with their friends and cousins so that they have social interaction and not feel lonely. Parents and adult family members are supposed to encourage children to ask questions about their grandparents and cousins. Other than that, children need to rediscover a sense of empowerment and resilience after an event very much out of their control. Help them direct their feelings constructively and consider what they can do to help others. One way Youth and children can help is through supporting local and global organizations providing relief during this crisis. Having them start fundraising or write a card or volunteer along with family not only gives them something positive to focus on, but sets the tone for giving back through anything life brings.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hannani, for the response to Miss Liana's idea. So, Miss Liana will be responsible for handling the understanding emotional needs of the most vulnerable youth and children. Shall we continue? Miss Hazira, what is your opinion on helping children and youth deal with stressful events?
Okay, Chairperson, thank you for asking. Long-term stress can contribute to a long list of physical and mental health problems. Prolonged stress can cause high blood pressure, weaken the immune system, and contribute to diseases such as obesity and heart disease. It can also lead to mental health problems such as anxiety and depression disorder that are becoming more common in youth. In a 2018 study, researchers analyzed data from the National Survey of Mental Health and found that rates of anxiety and depression had increased in kids ages 6 to 17 from 5.4% in 2003 to 8.4% in 2011 to 2012. Stress in young people doesn't always look like stress in adults, but like adults, children and teens can find healthy ways to cope. Together, young people and their parents can learn to spot the signs of excess stress and with the right tools manage it. Recognize the sign of stress. Sign of stress is youth and children can show up in numbers of ways. Firstly, irritability and anger. Children don't always have the words to describe how they are feeling, and sometimes tension bubbles over into a bad mood. Stressed out kids and teens might be more short-tempered and argumentative than normal. Secondly, changes in behavior. A young child who used to be a great listener is suddenly acting out. A once active teen now doesn't want to leave the house. Sudden changes can be a sign that stress levels are high. Thirdly, trouble sleeping. A child or teen might complain of feeling tired all the time, sleeping more than usual, or having trouble falling asleep at night. Next, neglecting responsibilities. If an adolescent suddenly drop the ball on homework, forgets obligations, or start procrastinating more than usual, stress might be a factor. Next, eating changes. Eating too much or too little can both be reaction to stress. Lastly, getting sick more often. Stress often shows up as a physical symptom. Children who feel stress often report headaches or stomach aches and might make frequent trips to the school nurse's office. Next, I will talk about how to help children and youth deal with stressful events. Firstly, listen. Give children and youth opportunities to talk about what they are feeling. Encourage them to share concern and ask questions. Secondly, comfort. Use simple tools to comfort and calm children and youth. For example, telling stories, singing with them, and playing games. Praise them frequently for their strength, such as showing compassion and helpfulness. Lastly, reassure children and youth that you are prepared to keep them safe. Provide them with correct information through valid resources.
I agree with Ms. Hazira. We must help children and youth deal with stressful events because it can affect their physical and mental health problems. From the data and sign of stress, we can make a move by having a fun activity when the stress of staying at home too long because of lockdown for the children and youth. Children and youth can spend their time watching Netflix as a replacement for usually watching movies at the cinema. The children and youths also can be stressed with the online study because they get used to studying at school with their friends before this. Sometimes they feel that nobody will help them and don't know how to seek help from who to settle their difficult thoughts. So a parent needs to play their role to guide the children and youth with listening to their problem in study and try to help them maximally. Reassure them that they will get through the situation and brainstorm the ways to cope or handle the situation with the children and youth. Another way to help children and youth deal with stressful events is to teach them relaxation techniques. Some of these can include listening to soothing music, guided imagery or visualization, breathing exercises, physical activity, massage, warm bath, aromatherapy, and yoga. No matter their age, stress will always be a part of your child's life, and learning to cope with distress is an important life skill to develop. Helping children and teens to cope with stress early in life can help them become healthy adults.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Hazira will be responsible for helping children and youth deal with stressful events. Next, I want to ask Ms. Hannani about recognizing signs of psychological distress needing specialist help. Can you give us your thoughts?
Some people can't hide their feelings and problems, while some can. But even if someone is trying to hide the problems, still we can see from their expressions, body language that they are carrying a burden. But children and youth are different in showing that they are stressed. Most children can hide their feelings and expressions when they face problems. For children, if they are stressed, they will change behavior. Common changes like acting irritable or moody, withdrawing from activities that used to give them pleasure, routine that expressive worries, complaining more than usual about the school, clinging to a parent or teacher, sleeping too much or too little, and eating too much or too little. Stress can also appear in physical symptoms such as stomach aches and headaches. If a child makes excessive trips to the school nurse or complains of frequent stomach aches or headaches, or if these complaints increase in certain situations like before a big test, the child may be experiencing significant stress. Sometimes a child may seem like his or her usual self at home, but act out in unusual ways. It is important for parents to know about their child's behavior outside the home by connecting with the teachers, friends, and people around their child to gather information. For Yachts, the signs and behaviors that can be seen are markable in performance, poor grades in school despite trying very hard. They also can be involved in excessive smoking, drinking, using drugs, including prescription medications. They also worry a lot of time without any reason, becoming aggressive, having any conflicts with parents, peers, having difficulty concentrating, and being less interested in schoolwork. And the worst part is they may think of hurting or killing themselves or someone else. All of these signs can be seen so help can be delivered more quickly.
I strongly agree with this proposal. Emotions have their ups and downs that make them difficult to deal with, and there are times it may lead to the existence of stress, anxiety, depression, and various other psychological problems. But the signs of psychological stress shown by children and adolescents differ in their own way as age. As parents, we must we must be more concerned about the changes in their children's attitudes and behaviors so that they can be identified. Typically, depression begins in adulthood, but it can also occur at any age, including childhood. Researchers believe that depression can be caused by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. These factors include depression, personal or family history of depression, medication used to treat certain diseases such as diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and Parkinson's disease. In addition, the depression experience can make the disease worse. Trauma, stress, or major changes in someone's life. Lastly, excessive use of social media, especially if it involves cyberbullying. To overcome this problem of psychological stress in adults and children, the signs that have been shown should be better identified.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hazira. So, Miss Hannani will be responsible for recognizing signs of psychological distress needing specialist help. Now, let us move on to our second point of the meeting agenda. I will read the report of the problem faced by youth and children related to the pandemic COVID-19, the flood, and the economic downturn that was made at our meeting last week. We have managed to provide some assistance in the form of cash, food, and even stationery. The provisions are as follows. 1. Daily needs. Second, provisions of assistance in the form of cash. So here we will discuss the form that can be given to youth and children during the food and economic downturn. For the first issue, let's start with Ms. Hannani. Ms. Hannani, could you share your opinion on the form that can be given to youth and children during the floods and economic downturn? Can we know your views and
Yes, sure. In my
suggestions
opinion,
in resolving this issue?
Yes, sure. In my opinion, the daily needs that we can give to children and youths during the flood and economic downturn are clothes. The flood victims' clothes may be damaged and dirty due to the flood, which is due to water. So their clothes cannot be cleaned even if washed many times. These donated shirts will somewhat ease their burden in order for them to buy other necessary items that have been damaged by the flood. Those affected by the economic downturn also need clothes because for sure they can afford to buy new clothes because there are other things that are more important to buy like food. So this small effort may cheer them up. Plus, clothes are not only specific on shirts but also trousers, singlets, underwear for girls and boys, scarves, socks, and pins for Muslims. This thing may help them to cover aura properly. I have found yards that can cover the aura because they can't afford to buy socks and scarves to cover it. Other than that, we can donate healthy foods to them because many NGOs tend to give snacks and candies that were children and youth's favorites. These are not good and healthy for them. So we can give healthy snacks and biscuits to them because food is a dirty thing that can cause diseases, so we don't want to make it worse. Other than that, children and youth show the generation that is still studying. So we can give them school supplies like books, school bags, stationery sets like pencil, eraser, and color pencil. These things really can help them and at the same time can make them happy.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hannani. So, Miss Hannani will be responsible for daily needs. Next, I want to ask Miss Hazira for the provision of assistance in the form of cash. Can you give us your thought?
Cash assistance to flood victims and the economic downturn so far as a whole can reach up to 10,000 ringgit for each head of household. In fact, he said for those who suffered the destruction of their houses at all, the amount of assistance was much higher and could reach 61,000 ringgit. Aware that the lives of victims in the coming months are very challenging and need support, this is one of the efforts to reduce their burden without the need for them to withdraw their employers' provident fund (APF) savings. On the other hand, with the help, they can continue to maintain their savings and enjoy an annual dividend of around 5%, those planning for a better future after retirement. I hope that this gift can give a new light to the Malaysian family. Apart from that, the assistance also include a cash voucher of 500 ringgit for the purchase of electrical goods to each family of flood victims to replace electrical goods damaged due to the flood disaster. We also provide cash vouchers of 1,000 ringgit for the purpose of repair or purchase of all types of affected vehicles, including lorries, cars, motorcycles, and others. We are committed to ensuring that the assistance that will be channeled will be improved so that it is more comprehensive and can be immediately delivered to those in need.
I think this idea is brilliant and I completely agree with your statement. How about others? Do you agree with me?
Yes, we all agree.
Yes, we all agree.
Alright, so Ms. Hazira will be responsible for the provision of assistance in the form of cash. Is there any other special?
And asking some questions, does online learning also affect the mental health of children and youth? As we know, mental health is very important for youth and children. If the mental health of youth and children is disturbed, it will definitely have a negative impact on learning life.
Ms. Hanani, can you please give us your answer to Ms. Liana's question?
Thank you for the question, Miss Liana. Yes, since this online learning is a new norm, which we even as an adult still switch ourselves, not to mention students, it may take some time for everyone to be comfortable with a new norm. From the survey that I have read on the internet, yes, online class really affects children and youth's mental health. Looking at the screen for hours a day and having minimal social interactions can be detrimental to the mental health of children and youths. Many children and youths have been struggling with their schoolwork due to their home life, social life, and technology. While the world worries about health and the economy, there are children and youths that are struggling with progressing to the next level of their education. Not all children and youths have the perfect life to come home after a hard day at school, and the pandemic has only made this situation worse. Many parents have lost their jobs or have become sick, making them incapable of paying the bills. For several children and youths, school is a safe place to get away from personal problems, and remote learning has made that nearly impossible. For some young people who have issues at home, there are so many different things that could be going on and they have no break from that. Those things can lead to more depression and more anxiety. Other than that, due to the online learning environment, it has become almost impossible to socialize. New children and youths this year have become worried they will not be able to meet new people properly. Children and youths have not gotten to know each other, and while some teachers use breakout rooms to make groups, some children and youths say they have not been very effective. It's hard to maintain relationships online, especially if you are bad at texting. Then they could end up feeling annoying. It's hard maintaining friends when you don't see them regularly. Being social is a human necessity, and while some people are struggling with it more than others, it has affected all of the children and youths. The pandemic has left everyone with many challenges. To help them with the health, children and youths should focus on the positives in their life, stay connected with friends and family, and do fun activities.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hanani. Is there anything else to discuss before we end our meeting?
No, there
No,
is
I think it's
nothing
nothing
else.
else.
Alright, thank you everyone for your extraordinary ideas. So we will recap our discussion today. We have agreed on all the solutions that have discussed for understanding emotional needs of most vulnerable youth and children. Miss Liana will manage it for helping children and youth deal with stressful events and provision of assistance in the form of cash. Miss Hazira will handle it. While for recognizing signs of psychological distress needing specialist help and daily needs, Miss Hanani will manage it. Does anyone else want to add conclusion? If not, maybe we can end our meeting this time. Hope we can meet again in the next meeting on 23rd February. We all have precisely a month to prepare of our report. See you at the next meeting. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone.